Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host and Around the Horn on this Thursday, Ray Flowers. Yovani Gallardo, I continue to get questions about him, and with good reason. He's been really bad so far. ERA is 5.7, his whip is 1.57. People always nervous about what to do with the struggling pitcher, and I'm going to tell you, you stand pat. I can understand wanting to remove him out of your starting rotation, putting him on your bench, but I can't understand the people that want to let him go. First off, 6 starts. Only a sixth of the way into the season, a fifth of the way into the season for him in terms of his appearances. Not that much. Secondarily, he has always had a history, unfortunately, of being one of these up and down guys. You know, he'll go for a month, not give up any hits, the next month he'll get lit up. In fact, in August of 2010, his ERA was 7.75 and his whip was 1.63. In August of 2009, we're talking about a whip of over about 1.5 and an ERA of 5.3. So in both those Augusts of 2009, 2010, he was dreadful, and his pitching performance in both of those months was no different really than what we've seen from him this April. Yet in those 2 years, we're talking about a pitcher who had an ERA of 3.7 and 3.8, and both years with the whip in the 1.3s. Gallardo will be fine. He will work this out. There are no reports whatsoever that he's injured at the moment. Without an injury, you got to feel comfortable about his ability to win 13 to 16 games, to put up maybe 200 strikeouts if he can stay healthy, and those ratios will come down. Just have patience with him. You can add Joe Mauer to the list of players that I was right about. Now, I've made mistakes, I've given bad advice from here and there, but I'll tell you this, when it comes to the injured players that I was speaking of this preseason, I hit it out of the ballpark. First, we had the situation of Kendrys Morales. Never understood why he was being drafted so highly after having his injury that knocked him out in May last year. Well, we're almost into May this year, and he's still not on the field. He continues to talk with doctors. He's going for more consultations and follow-up with the specialist about his leg. Just can't get it right. He's still not at a point where he can do sprints and cutting and all that. I don't know when Morales is getting back out on the field, so hopefully listen to me with him. Justin Morneau, he had the concussion issues that knocked him out and made him miss half of last season, was slow to start the year this year as well. Everyone said, oh, he'll be fine, he'll be out on the field. Well, he's been out on the field, but he hasn't been fine. 234, no home runs through 17 at-bats. I was 100% right about him, at least to this point of the season as well. Now you can add the name of Joe Mauer. And I said this over and over in the preseason. I had no idea why Mauer was getting a free pass. Guys like Morneau, guys like Morales who were injured, people were at least talking about their injuries. But in the case of the catcher Joe Mauer, coming back from off-season surgery on his knee, he didn't see hardly any time in spring training, and no one talked about it. Not really sure why everyone gave him a free pass. Unfortunately, he had the knee issue, then he had the leg issues, then he got the flu, whatever it is. He's been knocked out of action. He's on the disabled list, as you all know. Today, the team admitted basically that Mauer wasn't ready to start the season. It wasn't necessarily because of the knee surgery, but because it had set him back in his ability to get on the field and do baseball-related activities. He simply wasn't capable of playing every day. You add in the flu, and that's where we're at with Joe Mauer. No word yet on when he returns. He's obviously not going to return when expected off the disabled list. He's going to need some time in the minor leagues. Hopefully we'll see him in early May. The Twins really need that bat back in the lineup, especially with Delman Young going on the disabled list with a ribcage issue of his own. The Twins have been really beset by injuries this season. What's wrong with Andrew McCutchen? Now, there's a lot wrong with him right now, but I still have a ton of hope, just like with Carl Crawford with Andrew McCutchen. McCutchen has got 18 strikeouts in 12 games as a leadoff hitter. Guy only struck out 89 times all of last season, so that's a very troubling number. The odd thing is McCutchen's actually walking at a better rate than he's ever done before. So once the strikeouts come back down, and you have to think they will, if he can continue to be as selective and patient as he has been to this point, you have to think good things are coming with him. Another big key with McCutchen, 42% fly ball rate in his career, right around the big league average, but this season that number's up to about 50%. Clearly he needs to tweak his swing a little bit. When he does, expect really big things to come out of the dynamic outfielder for the Pirates. Carlos Carrasco had a scare with his elbow, and yes, he's going on the disabled list, but the news is very positive. No structural damage found. They're going to shut him down, give him a couple weeks. He started out pretty well for the Indians. If you have him in an A-only league, don't worry, he should be back pretty soon. If you have him in a mixed league and you can DL slot him, great. If you're just going to put him on the bench and take up space, maybe it's time to investigate other options. But very good news for the youngster. He will not apparently have to do anything surgical or anything like that for his elbow. Now, what do the Indians do in the meantime? They might call up Alex White. Now, Alex White was their 2009 first-round draft pick. He's got a big arm, throws 94, 95 miles an hour, got a really good fork ball. The issue with White is he doesn't have a third pitch. He's really a two-pitch pitcher at this point. And if you're not a Rich Harden type, it's very difficult to have success as a starting pitcher in the big leagues if you really only have 2 pitches, especially 2 pitches that are hard. We'll have to wait and see what the Indians do. If White is called up, take a shot in the only league, but be very careful of overspending any of that free agent budget or dropping someone significant, because I don't know, A, if White's going to stick with the team, B, if he even should be a starting pitcher right now. So make sure you're comfortable with White if you're going to give him a shot. And then finally, 2 struggling veteran players. Nick Swisher, he's 0 for his last 18. Carlos Lee, he's 0 for his last 15. People freaking out, panicking. Before the season, I did a player profile on Nick Swisher where I warned everyone not to expect a repeat of the nearly 300 batting average last year. It was never going to happen. At the same time, Swisher has always been a consistent power bat. 22 homers, 69 RBIs, 84 runs scored in each of the past 5 seasons. I know he's scuffling along right now, but he's too good and been too consistent to give up on him at this point. If you can get him on the cheap, do so. If you own him, bench him, but be ready for him when he returns. Now, Carlos Lee's a little bit different. He's a bit older, a little bit more of a concern with his ability to bounce back. Still, in each of the last 11 seasons, Carlos Lee has had at least 24 home runs and 80 RBIs. He's as consistent as they come in those 2 categories. Until he doesn't do it, I'm not going to say he can't do it again. He started out very slowly last year and still reached those totals. He also qualifies at first base as well as outfield. So before you give up on Carlos Lee, make sure you're really getting a better option, because by the end of the season, I would bet you that those power numbers will be pretty good. I'm Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me on Around the Horn. Talk to y'all again soon.